Welcome everyone to StrataGreen webinar. This is a very great opportunity to learn, and I'm very excited for what we are about to learn today. Before we start, we just quickly introduce myself. I'm Laura Potter, Marketing Manager from StrataGreen. I am just born as a passionate learner. So today, especially, I'm kind of extra excited because I've been following ATC Products journey, especially Japanese Silky Saw, quite a while, obsessed with all of the YouTube videos. So I'm very excited to welcome and to introduce Nita. Hi, Nita.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
So just for me to remind everyone, today webinar's topic, there are two parts of it. So the first one is just a little bit of a introduction and a chat and presentation from Nita on the superiority of Japanese Silky Saw. Maybe you have heard about Japanese Silky Saw before, or maybe try it out in the past, or maybe never encounter the Silky Saw ever. This is a great opportunity to learn and to listen and draw more knowledge out of Nita. And the second one is how to choose the best saw for your application. Let me present Nita, Sales Manager from ATC Products, to start her presentation. Thank you, Nita. Take it over.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Nita, and today I'm thrilled to dive into the world of the Japanese Silky Saws with you. I have been with this brand for 23 years, so since the year 2000. So I've had a lot of time to get to know the product and understand why they make the different saws that they do make. As for my personal knowledge on pruning, well, it practically runs in my family's veins. My father, two brothers, and even my little sister are all certified arborists. So tree talk, we've got that covered. Now, I'll admit that if we've got commercial growers in the audience today, your industry is probably one of the ones I have the least expertise in, but in my defense, I grew up on farms. I was deeply involved in my father's work. He started out in forestry and then became a qualified arborist specializing in transplanting and moving large trees. And then later he closely collaborated with avocado and mango growers. In his later years also, he focused on enhancing tree health and production. So I have swung an axe. I've been a groundie many times, but mostly I've done a lot of attentive listening. So really drawn from their knowledge. Now, the main reason here is, what is the beauty of a silky saw? So what makes silky saws so darn special? Well, for starters, the company that crafts these saws is a true family business with a rich history in metallurgy, hard word to say, dating back to the days of the samurai sword production. They've been making silky saws since 1919, and they've been dominating the market for over a century. So they won't produce anything unless it is truly exceptional and unique. And they're all about innovation. So if their customers dream up something that could make a saw better, they're onto it. Things like attaching holes and sheaths and blades, or ingeniously notching screws on both sides so you can disassemble them even if moisture or sap causes rust. They even employ hollow grinding on the blades, which is a very expensive process, but it ensures an incredibly smooth and easy cut. And let's not forget about aesthetics and ergonomic design. These saws are a true work of art. Silky Saws isn't just about making money as a company. They want you to succeed as well. And that's why they offer replacement parts for all of their products. And we make sure we keep them all in stock, ensuring that you can get your saw back in action without delay. In fact, they want you to have fun while making money. And yeah, that sounds a bit strange, right? Well, what I mean is that using the right tool, especially one as incredibly made as these, can turn a bad day into an amazing one. Let me share an example. A few years ago, a lady called me and she had brought an apple orchard for her daughter, and her daughter was a professional pruner. At first, her daughter was less than thrilled with the gift. Unbeknownst to her mother, she had grown to hate her job. But we hooked her up with some silky saws and some Italian loppers and secateurs called Castellari and a few other bits and pieces. Fast forward a few months, and I got a phone call from one of the happiest mothers in the world. Her daughter's passion for her work was reignited, and it was all thanks to tools that worked, were a joy to use even months down the track. So silky saws can be life-changing. But how do you choose the perfect silky saw? Well, you might be thinking, great, I want one of these amazing saws. but there are over 100 to choose from. Where do I start? Well, don't stress. I'm here to help you break it down quickly and easily. So essentially, you've got 4 key considerations. 1, what are you cutting? 2, how much space do you have to work in? 3, what kind of cut do you want? And 4, do you want a fixed or a folding saw? So let's dive into the first consideration. What are you cutting? Think about the full spectrum, from the largest to the smallest things you'll need to tackle, and then the typical sizes you'll encounter. Just like a chef or a butcher has an array of knives, you actually might end up needing to have a variety of saws yourself to meet your particular pruning needs. Now, the crucial point to remember, your choice of tooth size should align with your typical limb size. And then generally, small teeth excel at cutting smaller branches, while large teeth are tailored for those substantial, bigger branches. However, like all rules, there are exceptions. So when you're dealing with bone dry, hard timber, the game changes. You'll find small teeth performing impressively, like those you'll find on a builder's saw. Equally, it's essential to consider the reverse scenario as well. If you're working with exceptionally sappy wood, you might want to lean toward a larger tooth size. So choosing the right tooth size is all about adapting your saw to the particular characteristics of the wood you're working with. But yeah, just think big things, big teeth, little things, little teeth. Next, let's talk about the second crucial consideration, which is how much space do you have to work in? Your workspace plays a vital role. If your blade is too long, then you risk either breaking it or unintentionally trimming branches you'd rather keep. Now, there's a key insight that I need to emphasize, that I can't emphasize enough, sorry, and that is that Silky Saws exclusively cut on the pull stroke. So this is the most valuable bit of information you can take home today. They won't cut when you push the blade forward. It all happens as you draw that blade toward your body. When you push the blade, the teeth are designed to clear away any wood chip from that fresh cut and the teeth of your saw, allowing maximum wood to be removed on your next draw stroke. Sounds simple, right? Not so much. If you're accustomed to a Western push saw, you'll struggle getting your head around this technique. So over the years, I've gathered some tips that will help you master the art of silky pruning. First and foremost, ensure you start your cut at the handle. So yeah, you want to start your cut right up next to the handle here, not on the tip of the blade. It's covered, it's okay, I'm not going to cut myself. So yeah, right up here next to the handle. You also want to resist the urge to apply too much pressure to your cutting. These teeth are finely designed to do the heavy lifting for you. So it sounds counterintuitive given there's no battery power involved, but the trick is when you pull that blade toward your body, the tooth's precisely angled tip will naturally guide the saw downward, making sure that you remove the maximum amount of timber. If you push down too forcefully, you'll actually find yourself struggling and fighting with the saw. So you need to let the saw do the work and you become the guide. Now, for my all-time favorite tip, pay attention to your saw as you are pruning. Sometimes you might catch a distinct sound going donk, donk, donk. When that happens, you need to glance down and you'll see that the handle of your saw is knocking against the branch. This is your unmistakable sign that you are applying excessive forward pressure. So you need to reverse what you're doing and apply the pressure towards your body. In an ideal scenario, your saw handle should actually never make contact with the material you're cutting. Instead, you should actually find yourself accidentally pulling the saw out of a cut. And if this happens, consider it your eureka moment, because you've actually nailed the technique. The only adjustment you'll need to do is slightly shorten your strokes. And with these tips, your silky technique will be awesome. Now, the third consideration is what kind of cut do you have in mind? So are you after a lightning fast trim, or do you want a smooth cut that promotes rapid branch healing and minimal damage and reducing the chance of infection? Silky offers an extensive range of saws tailored to various applications, including alternatives to small chainsaws and woodworking saws. But with such a variety, it means you've got quite a few options to choose from. However, when it comes to fruit trees, there is a standout option. The saws that feature the Merumi style tooth. This is a unique tooth design that delivers an exceptionally smooth cut that leaves the branch looking as if you've meticulously sanded it after pruning. It's the ideal choice for ensuring the health and vitality of your fruit trees. And then lastly, the fourth consideration, fixed or folding. This choice holds significant weight as it not only narrows down your selection hugely, but it also plays a critical role in determining the durability and the resilience of your saw. So if you decide you want a fixed saw, then awesome, you've just resolved about 50% of your choice. If cut quality isn't a major concern, your choices are even more focused. And if you're pruning trees with closely packed branches, knowing the ideal blade length is going to be a breeze. It's all about matching the saw to your specific needs and making the selection process a lot easier by doing that. So maintaining your silky saw is also really important. I just wanted to briefly mention that. Every silky saw is designed with care. They feature protective coatings ranging from chrome to nickel and zinc. But, let's face it, we're in the heart of Australia, a place where nature throws its most challenging elements at us, from the world's deadliest creatures to trees oozing with some of the planet's most corrosive saps. It's really a tough gig for these saws. So I can't stress enough the importance of giving your silky saws the attention they deserve after each use. Treat them with a bit of TLC, give them a good clean and a generous layer of lanolin to fend off the rust. And if any of you have tuned into our YouTube channels over at Silky Saw Australia, you will know that we're huge fans of the tea tree oil based cleaner up in North Queensland called Easy. This amazing product, it really rids your blades of sap and it boosts the antimicrobial benefits of the high quality tea tree oil that they use in that product. So it not only cleans them, but it stops you from spreading disease from prune, which is really good. Yeah, so that's basically a brief summary of why silky saws should reign supreme and a little bit of guidance on picking the perfect one for your unique needs.
How do people figure out what type of cut that they're after in order to actually get the right saw?
So as I sort of mentioned before, you need to think about why you're cutting something. So if you're cutting a tree just to remove it, then it doesn't really matter what kind of cut you give it because you're getting rid of the tree anyway. And normally the saws that will cut the fastest don't give the best finish. So you wouldn't sort of go, oh, I'll get the saw with the best finish, because it might be a little bit slower and all you're doing is cutting down trees for removal. Or you might have really hardy trees that really don't easily get infected, don't easily stress out. So therefore, again, it might not be necessary to have that beautiful smooth finished cut. Speed might be more important. So that's where people's situations are different. And then also some trees, like I mentioned before, fruit trees are a big one. They tend to be quite susceptible to infection. So they're one that you really want to look after and just get a saw that's going to give that really smooth cut. Because what happens often with the fast cutting saws and many saws from other brands. So, today I've been talking about Silky, but Silky is very unique. So unique in a sense that somebody who's never used one can pick one up that we would nearly throw away because it's blunt and old, and they'll use it and go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. I feel like I'm cutting through butter. And we're like, really? I didn't do hardly anything. But that's how unique Silky is. So, that's what I'm talking about. But the realm of general other saws, you'll find the finish they give, there'll be little lines on your branch. So you'll actually be able to run your fingernails down and sort of feel it. And that's every time the saw's gone backwards and forwards, basically. So in a silky world, the saws that are designed to cut faster, some of them, depending on the shape of the tooth, may do that little line creation. And that's where water and bacteria can sit and potentially absorb into the tree and cause that infection. So the saws with the Nita setting that I mentioned, they literally leave it just super smooth. So that tree can just create that film and heal itself really quickly, stopping any potential infection getting in.
I believe in order to have a precision and clean cut, we need to make sure that our saw stays sharp, right? Can we even sharpen these saws, and what is the best way to do it to make sure that it's always stay sharp and have the best cut results?
Sure. So only some of the silky saws can be sharpened, and it's normally the ones with the much bigger teeth. One of the main reasons for it is Japan's just sort of said, look, it's going to be too difficult for you to achieve the sharpness that we can achieve. So therefore they put a treatment on the tips of the teeth only, which give them a longer life. So it makes the tips very, very hard, which allows them to last. So if you purchase one, you can look on the packaging, and the packaging will tell you somewhere on it whether you can or can't sharpen it. I don't know if you can see that, but the picture right there, that's the one to tell you cannot sharpen it. It means it's been impulse hardened and you would need to replace the blade. But all parts, as I mentioned, are replaceable. So you can just order yourself a new blade for that. In saying that, they last a really long time. So it's not something a general user would need to do, get a replacement blade. But if you're a commercial user, then you might, depending on how much cutting you've done and how dirty what you're cutting is.
Yeah, that's great. So I love it. The packaging actually outlined that, so you know what to expect as well as a customer and wanting to purchase. In saying that, if you are interested in purchasing Japanese Silky Saw, that's StrataGreen.com.au. You can search all the range that we have for Japanese Silky Saw, working closely and in partnership with ATC Products. Another question that came in, we want to also chat about, if we need a few different tooth sizes, does that mean we need different saws in order to have all of those sizes, or can we have one and then different tooth and different blade or anything like that? Like how do we go with this?
Yeah, like mentioned in the beginning, you might need a range depending on what you're doing. So, you might want a saw to take camping, you might want a saw that you're going to use in work, you might want one for new growth, and you might want one for clearing out some old growth. So you've got variety of sizes and types of wood there. A lot of the saws, the blades are actually interchangeable. So this one I held up before, the Gomtaro, this is its large tooth, but it also comes in a fine tooth. And then you can also get it with little teeth at the front and these bigger teeth at the back. And then there's also one that looks just like this, but a bit shorter. And that one's actually designed to cut into the ground and cut tree roots. So if you have this handle and the sheath, you can just get any of those 4 blades and pop it into your handle. And then depending on what job you've got the perfect saw for that. So that's with those fixed saws, and also with the folding saws, you'll find most of Silkies have a few different tooth options with each of the different styles.
That's very cool. We're still waiting for further questions for those who are tuning in right now. If you have any questions, don't forget to also jot it down on the Q&A section. If you're a bit like, oh, shy, I don't want it to be answered live, because it happens. I'm a bit like that too. You can also send through your questions through info@stratagreen.com.au. Once again, info@stratagreen.com.au. And I can pass it on to Nita. Nita can reply, and then we can answer your specific questions. But we still have around 5 to 10 minutes to chat. So if you want to do it live, again, no pressure, but go for it. We are here to answer your questions. Just a throwing comment. This is why you're very fit. Because when you're using saw, that's like a lot of manual and core strength exercise. Am I right?
Yeah,
Worth
absolutely.
mentioning.
I always, as I mentioned earlier, my father was an arborist, and as a teenager, I'd always, the boys would be all exhausted at the end of the day, and I'd tease them. I'd be like, well, you don't have to go to the gym now. Just think, it's an added bonus.
Yeah. Work tick, exercise tick for the day.
Absolutely. And my sister-in-law was a personal trainer for a while, and I did a little bit of working out with her. And then that weekend I did a whole lot of pruning, and I went back to the following week and I'm like, no, you just need to get all your clients to come to my place. We'll do pruning. I got a bigger bicep burn doing the pruning than I did doing your curls.
And at the same time, you did your pruning jobs. There you go. So it's great.
That's right.
Another question that maybe also some would like to know, since we're still chatting right now, you did mention about like there's a strength difference between fixed and folding saw, and people obviously, browsing StrataGreen website and then saw different ones. There's folding saws, there's fixed. What is the difference between them two?
Yeah. So Silky's fixed saws all come in sheaths. So that's a big thing, because a lot of people think, oh, I don't want a fixed saw because it'll be dangerous. The teeth might cut me. Well, they all come in a sheath. So you don't need to worry about the saw accidentally cutting you or it falling out of the sheath, because they design them so they actually lock in, so they don't fall out on you. But with the fixed, the blade goes all the way through its full tang. So it goes to the back of the blade, and then the metal screws go through and hold it in place. So there's no way that blade is going to fall out from the handle. Plus, by having it full tang, you get vibrations when you're pruning, plus you're going to get movement. You don't want movement from side to side, because that's potentially how you're going to break it. But it happens, depending on the circumstance. The tree moves where you didn't expect it to move. There's going to sometimes be bending. Yeah. So if you've got that full tang, a lot of that movement is actually absorbed into the handle. So you've got less chance of that breaking. And it's a very, very sort of secure way of having the saw. Whereas your folding saws, they have to pivot on the one screw because they're opening, and that's that mechanism for them to open. So instead of having two screws, you've got one screw holding the blade in place, and that's its only secure point. So there's nowhere for it to absorb that movement. So you've got a higher chance of snapping a blade around here than you do a fixed saw. The benefit of the folders are a lot of benefits, and sometimes people will then decide, well, that outweighs the disadvantage of losing a bit in the strength and the absorption side of it. Like obviously with a folder like this, you've got a really high reach, not that you can see there, but back. A really high reach. And then obviously we have little ones too, and a lot of growers like those because they're compact for their pruners to have on their hip or in a pocket or in a sheath that they can then carry it around portably. So a folder has a lot of convenient advantages, but you do lose that strength and also the comfort, because obviously in a folder, the handle has to be at least as long as the blade, and then a little bit longer again. So they can't fully mold it to the hand. They do the best they can by giving it a bit of sort of shape. And there's always this section here to give the little finger a bit of support, because that's where all the pressure should be. But a fixed saw, they actually can make it like pistol grip. So very, very comfortable in the hand, really secure. So again, it's about how long you're going to be using it for. So if you're a commercial pruner and you're using it for 8 hours of the day, you want that to be really comfortable in the hand. So that's where you might think, well, I'm better to go for a fixed saw because I'm going to get that comfort and that strength. Whereas if it's just selectively pruning, to have on you just in case you see that limb that needs a cut, then a folder might be ideal for you.
So would you recommend folded one as well for someone who's new to Silky Saw, or
well, you can, but if somebody sort of said to me, look, I have no idea what I want to cut. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. I just want a really good saw for whatever, whenever. I just want to be able to go and get that saw, and that's going to be the saw I use. The one I've actually been showing you is the one I would recommend, which is the Gomtaro 300, because it's not going to be as ideal, say, to cut a bit of building timber as a fine tooth saw will, but it'll do it. Whereas if you had a bigger tooth, it's not going to do it. It's just going to bounce and jump and make a big mess. So this one will get you out of trouble, basically. So there are saws that we can help people start with that might be there. I'm not sure what I'm going to actually use it for. And I guess it's like a lot of things. When you've not had a really, really good quality item before, you don't know when you would use it. And then you get one, you're like, oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe I used it for this and I used it for that. And I use it all the time. So then you kind of will be able to narrow down, I mostly use this when I go camping or when I go to work. And then you could get another one that's more specifically designed for that particular application.
That's fantastic. And I just double check. We also have Gomtaro on our website. So if you are interested, yes, I might place an order myself, Nita. So Gomtaro is available on StrataGreen.com.au. If you want to know more about Silky Saw as well as ATC Product, don't forget as well, you can browse their website, atcproducts.com.au, and their YouTube channel, mostly recommended. But I have a little bit of a, what do you call it? A caution. If you start watching one, most probably you're going to be spending the rest of your 3 hours because it's really good. So make sure you actually allocate that time, or be disciplined and turn it off after one video and then come back later. I think the last question for today that most probably people also want to know, obviously you mentioned that have saws that can also be an alternative to a chainsaw. Why would you want that though? And what is the argument behind that?
Yeah. So often when we say that, if somebody hasn't used a Silky, they go, are you crazy? But Silky make a range of saws for that specific purpose. And the reason behind it is, first of all, we're in Queensland, so this is the big one for us. When you pick up a chainsaw in a business commercial sense, you have to put all your PPE on. Like it's required. You have to have the hard hat, the chainsaw pants, the whole kit caboodle. Whereas a handsaw, you don't have to. You can just still have your normal work clothes on. So that's a big advantage. The saws that are designed to cut large limbs actually cut them really well, really quickly. There's a few different styles. So again, depending on why you're cutting, as to which one you would pick, but they genuinely cut very quickly. The biggest one we have is a meter long. Not as many people get that one as the smaller ones, obviously, but that is the biggest silky saw, a meter long. Generally, the 500, a lot of people have heard of the katana. It's a folding saw, comes in a 500 and a 650 mil. Those are absolutely fantastic for people who, you know, go camping, four-wheel driving, and those sorts of people. Actually really important, because a lot of national parks in Australia now, not only is it illegal to use a chainsaw in a national park, but even if you're caught with one in your vehicle, you can still get fined as if you're using it, kind of like the fishing rules. So you can have a katana or a big silky in your car. And it's not that you're going to go around cutting all the trees in the national park. It's sometimes there'll be a fallen tree that's across the track and you can't get through. So you just need to be able to clear it or make it smaller so that you can push it off the track. And that's what these are really good for. In a commercial sense, the bigger saws, which are an alternative to a chainsaw, are fantastic for, you know, say the manager of the farm, he keeps one in his, you know, vehicle that he's using, so that when he's driving around, he might see a branch that's broken in a storm and he can just knock that one branch off with that saw rather than going back to the shed, kitting up fully for the chainsaw and going out and doing that. So it's not that we suggest you go out and start pruning all your pine trees with a handsaw, but it's for those occasional times where you just need one or two big branches that are cut. Those saws are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, because to be really honest, when you're out and about, you don't know what to expect. And sometimes, you know, to just have it available, you know, and have a solution to what's in front of you, it's a good option.
And you know what? It works every time. No oil,
Yeah.
no petrol.
Yeah, there you go. We love
everything they make is beautiful. The catalog included.
I noticed that they're very artsy looking.
Oh,
like
you know, they actually spend, sorry, we may be making it go too long, but they actually spend a lot of time and money making the saws look really cool. Yeah, and like one of them, it's designed after a race car. They actually copied the front nose of one of the owner's favorite race cars. And the Gom boys, their handle actually has the same print pattern of another race car that won one of the big events, because apparently they'd spent millions on the steering wheel handle so that you got exceptional grip. So that's what the Gom boy handles have, the same handle.
We can confirm that Japanese Silky Saw, great for commercial, great for personal use, anything that type of projects that you require pruning, definitely Japanese Silky Saw is recommended. I would say it's great. So we just want to say thank you, Nita.
Thank you for having me.